Welcome back to Faithful Pulse. Paul. And today's episode dives into a critical topic as we approach the election season, voting. But this discussion goes beyond political portions of politics. It's about understanding our duty as Christians, not just as citizens of America, but as citizens of heaven. As believers, we are first and foremost ambassadors for the kingdom of heaven, called to reflect God's will in everything we do, including how we engage with the world around us. Today, we'll explore why voting is part of our responsibility to honor both God and society, and how we can go about fulfilling the mission God has given us in the political arena. For we are citizens of any nation, we are citizens of heaven. Philippians 3:20 reminds us that our citizenship is in heaven, and as such, we are ambassadors for the kingdom of heaven while we live here on earth. Being citizens of heaven means our primary loyalty is to God's kingdom, and our role here is to make His will known in every aspect of our lives, and that includes how we participate in society and voting. And as ambassadors of heaven, we are called to go about our Father's business, just as Jesus did. That means we carry out the Great Commission, seeking to reflect God's will on earth by loving our neighbors, seeking justice, and standing for truth. Voting is one way we can let the Father's will be known here in America. It's not just a civic duty, it is a kingdom responsibility. Some people wonder, does my vote really matter? Or should Christians even be involved in politics? But I believe that voting is a way we can reflect God's values and the principles here. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. Our participation in elections can bring about righteous leadership that seeks justice, mercy, and peace, qualities that align with God's character. We might not always agree on the same policies or candidates, but the common thread for Christians should be to desire to see God's justice and love reflected in the decisions made by our leaders. As Christians, God has entrusted us with influence. Voting is one of the key ways we can steward that influence responsibly. In America, we have the privilege and the responsibility to use our voice to shape the direction of our nation through the leaders we elect and the policies that we support. Romans 13:1 reminds us that all authority is established by God. And participating in elections, we help shape the society that God has placed in us. This just isn't about political preferences. It's about ensuring that we reflect kingdom values, once again, like justice, mercy, and peace, and that these are in the policies and the leaders that we support. It's part of how we love our neighbors and seek the common good. Primary duty as citizens of heaven is to go about our Father's business. In every aspect of life, including voting, we have a mission, and that is to fulfill the commission given to us by Jesus. This means we should let our faith guide our decisions at the ballot box, ensuring that we are voting for what reflects God's heart. And here's how we can approach voting with a kingdom mindset. Number 1, pray for wisdom. James 1:5 tells us to ask for wisdom, and God will give it generously. Before voting, spend time in prayer, asking God to show you which candidates and which policies align with His will. This ensures we are seeking His guidance, not just relying on our own understanding. Number 2, vote with kingdom values in mind. When you vote, ask yourself, Does this policy reflect God's justice, mercy, and love? Is this advising the Father's will on earth? Again, Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. Our vote should reflect our commitment to advancing God's values and not our personal opinions, not our party preferences. Number 3, seek the common good. As ambassadors of heaven, our role is not just to look out for our own interest, but to seek the welfare of others. Jeremiah 29:7 calls us to seek the peace and the prosperity of the city where we live. So our voting decisions should consider how they affect the most vulnerable and marginalized in our society. Voting is one of the ways we make God's will known. By casting our vote, we are not participating in a system that allows us to reflect kingdom values here in America. It's not about political parties. It's about fulfilling our commission as Christians to stand for truth, justice, and righteousness. Micah 6:8 tells us to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. And voting is one way we can uphold these principles in society. As ambassadors for the kingdom of heaven, we have the responsibility to let our faith shape how we engage the world. Voting gives us an opportunity to make decisions that reflect God's heart, ensuring that our government upholds the values of His kingdom. So thank you so much for joining me for this important topic and having this discussion on the Faithful Pulse. Voting is more than just a civic duty. It is our Christian duty to steward our influence wisely and to make God's will known here on earth. As you prepare to vote, remember that you are first and foremost an ambassador of heaven, carrying out the mission of the kingdom here in America. If this episode encouraged you, be sure to subscribe and share it. Please share it with someone who may need a reminder of how important their role as a believer is. Let's continue to shine in Christ's light in every area of life, including the voting booth. Until next time, I'm Paul, and this has been the Faithful Pulse. All the best, and God bless.